Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I am your host, attorney Elsa W. Smith, and I'm also the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, where our mission is to empower women through estate planning. Through our guests and educational content, my hope is to provide you glimpses of what an empowered woman is and the tools that she needs to win. We have a very special episode today. We're going to talk about manners and etiquette. And I don't know about you guys, but that really excites me. Anybody who knows me knows that it does. And I want to start off with a quote from Emily Post. She said, "Manners are a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners, no matter what fork you use." I'd like to share a bit about our very special guest today, Tamlyn Franklin. She is affectionately known as the Etiquette Lady. Tamlyn helps leaders and professionals master soft skills and the essentials of dining etiquette to position themselves to close business deals because most deals are made over a meal, quite frankly. Tamlyn is a speaker, author, electrical engineer, etiquette trainer, and a mom. Tamlyn received her etiquette trainer certification through the Professional Woman Network, a national and international consulting organization specializing in professional and career development. Tamlyn has written several books and published several books, including How to Become an Unstoppable Black Woman, 5 Steps to a Positive Image in a Sea of Negative Stereotypes, The Essentials of Dining Etiquette, a guide to understanding and mastering dining rules, and Common Courtesy is Free in the Etiquette Handbook, first edition. In a society, in today's society, things, tend to be very relaxed, little casual, for better or for worse. So, for that and so many other reasons, I think that our guest today, her voice is one that needs to be heard. And without further ado, I'd like to present to you and everyone Tamlyn Franklin. Hi, Tamlyn.
Hi, Elsa.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And before we go any further, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It is always great when you can connect with great friends, and I consider you a friend and a great person. And I just thank you for opening up this opportunity for me to share the stage with you. So thank
You
you.
you are so welcome, Tamlyn. You know what? I'm remiss if I don't say one of the most important things about you. You are the president of the Etiquette Consulting Group International, through which all of the good work that you do happens. So like I said, I'm really excited to have you on today. And I mentioned that you have a professional background as an electrical engineer. So unexpected, but so refreshing, to know that a woman as smart as also cares about etiquette and manners, and it's just sending the message around the world, that manners matter, right? So, but first, I'd like you to share with everybody. Tell us about your professional training, as an electrical engineer and where you work.
So thank you so much again. I currently work at the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, and I work as a lead engineer in the space exploration sector in the environmental test facility. Excuse me. And I'm just so honored to be a part of an organization that assists and provides solutions to the world for national security. And it is such a great honor, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in a position as a Black woman to be in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. I am STEM. I look like STEM. STEM is not a certain race or certain color. STEM is me. So I am so thankful that I was able to pursue a degree in electrical engineering that has landed me to this space in this time right now.
I love that, and I love that that's one of the reasons that I cherish this platform so much, because I get to share it with amazing women like you, and amazing women of color as well. And it's so important to really show the world that we are in these spaces. We're not only navigating, but we are, taking leading roles. We're making an impact in so many spaces. So I really am glad that you shared that with the audience. So now let's talk about, what led you to etiquette coaching.
What led me to it was I received a book from my mom many years ago, and it was a book that she had had for, I guess it was over 30 years. It was a library book, and she never returned it just by happenstance. It wasn't intentional. And she was going to, out of shame, get rid of the book because she had had it so long, she didn't want to take it back to the library. So I said, Mom, I'll take the book. And I took the book. It was an Amy Vanderbilt book, like early 1900s book. And when I started reading the book, it opened my eyes to things that I had never really considered. Having a background in engineering, of course, you have some training as far as dealing with people, your professional image, and so forth. But there were many nuances of etiquette that I had never even dreamed of, never heard of. There were points in the book about invitations, where if you got a party invitation, you would respond. When I was a teenager, you might respond, you may not respond. I didn't know that there was an etiquette to that.
Mm.
Um, there is also etiquette when as it relates to funerals and workplace etiquette. There are so many rules of engagement that make people feel comfortable when everyone knows how to behave in certain environments, not just being quiet in a library or sitting still in a worship service, but how to conduct yourself in the grocery store, in the theater, at the movies, everywhere, in a restaurant. So there are rules of engagement that my eyes were opened when I received that book. And I just thought that there are so many people, I'm sure, who don't know that information because if no one tells us, we don't know. And I had never heard a lot of what I read in that book. So that is really what got this whole train moving.
Yeah, I was really interested in like what led you. I always am interested in what prompts people, what's the catalyst that gets you on that journey. And going back to something you said that really resonated with me, that you don't know essentially what you don't know. And I, at the tender age of 51, now soon to be 52, I'm still learning, but I can look back over my life and I remember all of the, not exclusively women, but mainly women,
Hmm.
um, who, when I was, I made a faux pas, or, just a misstep, they gently kind of pulled me aside and said, Elsa, that's not the correct way to do X, or that, you may want to consider, another way of saying Y, in a very, diplomatic way. And of course, like my first reaction, particularly when I was a youngster, a teen, I felt like, oh my God, what did I do? And you feel awkward, but in retrospect, you're so thankful for the people that loved you enough to
Hmm.
to gently correct. And whether it's, etiquette in speech, in what you wear in certain situations, And we can get into like people's like, oh, well, you're being too conservative or you're being too rigid. But as you said, to use your words, there are rules of engagement, and there's a purpose for that. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on. Um, but tell us how your etiquette coaching journey started. What was that like? How did you just wake up one day and say, I want to be an etiquette coach? I'm not only an electrical engineer, but I want to be an etiquette coach. How did that journey start for you?
Well, I was married, and unfortunately, I'm no longer married. But through marriage, we had a very large family. We had 6 children. We still have 6 children, and the youngest and the oldest were girls, and the 4 middle children boys. So the baby girl, I wanted her to have an opportunity to grow up and have some girl experiences. So I started a mentoring program when my daughter was 8. She's now 22.
Hmm.
So it's everything really started with the mentoring program for girls, which it was her and a few friends. And then those friends told a friend, and then those friends, they shared it with a friend. And the program just grew. And from the age of 8 until they turned 14, some of the girls were repeat attendees, and the program just grew into not just mentoring, but then it grew into hosting classes for other people, other individuals, other organizations like the Girl Scouts. And then it went to colleges, Coppin State University, University of Maryland, the LEAD program. Then a hotel would call and say, well, can you do a training for our Hilton Honors Hotel, no less? Can you do a training for our professionals? And then we went to Blacks in Government and taught training there. So it just grew out of that one desire to help my daughter and her friends have a good time on their journey to womanhood. And I'm just so grateful that I had a daughter and have a daughter, that I was able to share that and then have her friends experience the same things, because the mentoring program was basic etiquette, but it was fun. It was fun for the girls. We always went on excursions, and they didn't realize they were learning because they were having so much fun. But we did everything, and they some of them still keep in contact. Most of them still keep in contact with me today, and that's such an honor. But that was the catalyst, really. After getting the book and starting the mentoring program, the rest is really history.
Beautiful. And I want to go back to your mentoring of the girls, and that's a sweet spot for me, because if people ask me, if you had all the money in the world, what are some of the things that you would do? One of the things would be actually to fund a charm school. And I know that people don't talk about charm schools so much nowadays, but that's what, for disadvantaged girls,
Mm-hmm.
because in years past, I was part of a nonprofit, and we did just that. There were a group of professional women who came together. We raised money, we adopted a school, and we mentored, we exposed girls. I remember telling you, during show prep, that that's that those experiences, for particularly for girls
Mm-hmm.
who may not have the benefit of going to lunch to certain places as you or I would, and we may take it for granted. Those experiences, the sitting at a table, knowing where things are placed, knowing how to ask for what you want, and all the little things, they're so important. And I know that those experiences are going to stay with those girls, just like they're going to remain with the girls that you've been blessed to mentor. Um, could you deal with or address the any concerns or fears that you had along your etiquette coaching journey?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because I was so reluctant to even start the mentoring program.
Mm,
I don't know where the fear came from. It was self-imposed for sure.
mhm,
But I was so afraid to start the mentoring program and make a phone call to rent out a space. It took me 5 years,
mm,
five, before I even started because I was so afraid, judging myself and finding all the reasons why I couldn't, until one day I said, you know what, I'll just do it afraid. And I just took the bull by the horns. And my biggest fear, I believe, was fearing that I wasn't good enough or I wasn't the right complexion,
mm,
if you will, to have a career or even teach someone etiquette principles because I had never seen anyone that looked like me doing it. So that was the biggest fear. I had no roadmap from someone that looked like me that gave me basically permission, if you will, to step into this arena. So it was fear that kept me from even starting. But after a while, I said, you know what, later for the fear, I am going to do this. My daughter, her life depends on it. My life depends on it, and so many other people. So I would suggest that anybody listening to me who's afraid to launch out into the deep for something that they're passionate about, I would say just do it. Do it afraid.
wow. And if that's not a message, a sermon, a whole, book right there in that sentence, I don't know what is. It is, I hope everyone who's listening, particularly the women, particularly our girls, if you're listening, catch that. Do it afraid. It is so important. And, me as, an Afro Latina, I am taking up space in an industry that traditionally has been, older white male, but it's important for us not only to take up space, but to be seen and allow ourselves to be seen. And Tamlyn, you need to be out there. And I'm so thankful that we have role models like you who did it afraid, just like you're telling us to do. And you're out there, you're a published author, and you've impacted more lives than you know. I fair to say.
Thank you for
I'll
saying
guess
that.
that, yeah, I am positive that you have, because so many people watch you, but they may not like your posts on Instagram, or send you a tweet or anything, but people are watching and trust that you are making an impact. Having said that, let me ask you, why do manners and good etiquette matter?
Well, that is a loaded question, but the simple answer is people want to do business with people that they feel comfortable with, people that they know and that they like. If people feel comfortable around you in any environment, they don't mind helping you. They want to do business with you. If you're a student and you have good manners, people will go out of their way to help you. They will inform you about opportunities that exist that otherwise you may not know about. People go the extra mile for people who have the utmost respect for themselves and for others. Because etiquette really is about managing yourself in an environment where you make other people feel comfortable around you. It's not being a yes ma'am or a yes woman. It's about having good presence. It's about having knowledge of what is acceptable. It's about you managing yourself in every environment so that people feel absolutely comfortable around you and people want to do business with you, period. That is why it is very important. So it's important for not just adults in business, not just for students, not just for families, but it's important for everyone. I don't care how old you are, no matter what age you are. If you're old enough to talk, you're old enough to know what is acceptable and what is not. Like talking back to a parent,
Mm,
talking back to a teacher,
Hmm.
keeping your cool in a work environment. You just have to know the rules of engagement in any and every situation. And etiquette basically is managing yourself in all of those environments and arenas.
Well, taking, talking about, the importance of etiquette in good manners at any age, and that it applies, if you're old enough to talk, then you're old enough to at least be able to learn good manners. I know that we have many parents who watch this show. And I want to bring up an example, and maybe you can coach us through this. Many of us have sat in a restaurant, and there's a family perhaps at a nearby table, and the child with them becomes unruly. What in that situation? What tips would you give to that parent who's trying to manage the situation? I know some parents grow numb and they just are not listening and they just are so exhausted. But for the parents who want to be proactive, what tips or coaching would you have for them in that situation?
I would tell them enroll in one of my courses. Enroll their children in one of my courses. And then when they went to the restaurant or when they go out to the restaurant, they don't have to prepare. They're already ready. They don't have to try to get ready. They stay ready so that they don't have to put themselves in those situations. Well, children get antsy, and if the parent has a rapport with their own child and they know how to talk to the child, they can excuse themselves from the table, take the child to the restroom to address whatever is going on, as opposed to disrupting the entire restaurant or wherever they may be dining. So I would say excuse themselves and the child, go to the restroom or someplace private, because you never criticize in public. You always criticize in private, even if it's your child, because if you criticize in public, it damages the esteem of the person. I don't care what their age is. So you always want to be mindful to criticize your children in private, not in public, because then they have a disdain for being criticized, and then they hold that resentment, and then it just festers and festers. And children oftentimes hold on to hurts
Mm.
and things that are painful, even though they can't articulate it, but they hold on to those. So, my one recommendation to parents in those situations, even though your temper may be flaring and you want to address the situation, but it's always best to do that in private.
And to I don't have children of my own, yeah, but I will say that I know that parents do try to take children out with them to begin to acclimate them to dining in public. So I guess I'm speaking to a lot of the parents out there who they say, listen, I want my kids to know what it is like because we're going to be dining as a family. But thank you so much for that tip, Tamlyn. That's really important. um, Next question, why is etiquette in business important? And what are a couple of examples of good etiquette that we can exercise in business?
Well, business etiquette is important because if you want to advance in your career, if you want to keep a job, number one, or if you want to do business, if you're an entrepreneur, you still have principles of etiquette that you have to maintain as well, whether you're self-employed or employed by someone else. Business etiquette goes for all. Any person that's exchanging money for goods and services is in business. So even if you're not in the corporate arena, you're still in business. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a school teacher, no matter what your profession, business etiquette is important. Being on time, that's a business etiquette principle. Not losing your cool. If you receive instructions from someone and it rubs you the wrong way, losing your cool is not the right thing to do. That can damage your career, damage your reputation. it can damage your life, honestly. And that is a big and huge etiquette principle that is taught as far as communication, as far as body language, tone. There are so many points of managing yourself and that goes with business etiquette that is so paramount, and people discount those little things that make a lot of huge impacts on our careers.
And I think you may have said this before, but people, if you're exercising, good etiquette, and again, we said before that, it's about being sensitive to the people around you. But if you're generally at least try to exercise good etiquette, people, like it or not, they make assessments of you. They make judgments about you,
Mhm.
based on, whether you're a person that exercises good etiquette, correct?
They definitely do. We are always on stage, no
Mm,
matter if we think we are or we don't want to be. We are. We're always on stage. Everyone is always observing how we speak, what we say, how we say what we say, what we post. Our fight, our
oh, say that
carbon,
word again, what we post, right?
what we post. Our carbon footprint is here forever. So even when we post something and we delete it, or we decide that we're going to modify what we said, edit the change, edit, make changes, that information is still in cyberspace, and it can come back to haunt you. And I don't think people really realize that even when you don't want to be on stage, you're on stage at all times. You're on stage when you're home, you're
Mm.
on stage when you're at work, you're on stage when you're online. So any social media that you're on, your image is showing. Your image is always showing. What you say, how you say, the friends that you have in your network, almost everything is being observed.
Mm.
So we really can't hide in this world of technology. We're always being observed. Our mannerisms, our the way we dress, what we say, how we groom, everything. Everything is being assessed by those who are watching.
That's so true, in this era of, particularly, of like Big Brother, like everything's being watched, everything's being measured. And like you said, people make judgments about whether they want to hire you. If you're a business owner, or what have you, you're always being assessed. Um, wow. It's so true. Like you can't get away from it.
You cannot.
Um, Now, I love the fact that you're a published author. Aside from the fact that you are a speaker, you're an entrepreneur, you're also a published author. What are some of the books that you've written? And if you have one that you could share with the audience, I'd love for them to see at least one of the books that you have.
Okay. Well, thank you for mentioning the books. I am an author and I've written several books. The first book was How to Become an Unstoppable Black Woman, a positive image in a sea of negative stereotypes. And all of the books are on Amazon, thankfully. The second book was The Essentials of Dining Etiquette, which I have here.
Beautiful.
And this book is also on Amazon. And it's a guide to understanding and mastering dining rules. But I like to do this book as a workshop in person so that we can have hands-on learning, because I believe we learn better when we're actually doing. And then I have a book, next to the most recent is Common Courtesy is Free, an Etiquette Handbook, because in a world where everything is expensive, or a lot of things are expensive, common courtesy is absolutely free. And being kind to someone is it doesn't cost a dime. And I always say, and it doesn't take much time just to be kind and show courteousness to another person. And then my most recent book is um, The Mom and Me, which was a book written with other authors, other mothers. It's an anthology, and I was so happy to be a part of that project. But I have another project that's up and coming. The book is not out yet, but it will be a book for engineers. And for all those out there who may be engineers, I am going to be presenting an author call. So if you are interested, I have space for just 20 people to be a part of this project. So be on the lookout for that information.
You heard that, folks. So you engineers out there. Wow, Tamlyn, you're right. In a world where everything is just kind of do what you want or lack standards, for me, I find it refreshing when I encounter, a young person, younger, thank you very much, a teen or a child who says yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes or no sir, and it knows how to look you in the eye when they're speaking. They don't hold their heads down when they're speaking. That is so, why, tell us, if you could share your view, why does that inspire like joy in like those of us who are our age? It's like, yes.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Recently, we had a new neighbor move next door, and when the young lady and her son may be 8 years old, but when I see him in the morning, he looks me in the eye and he says, "Good morning," and my heart just melts because I said he's so mannerable, and he knows that he should look me in the face. He speaks, his volume is loud enough so that I can hear him. He's not looking away, or he doesn't just ignore the fact that I'm there. He says good morning, and he's pleasant, and it is such a joy. And I just applaud his mom for instilling those principles in him, because he had to be taught. Someone had to tell him that this is the way you address adults, and he's learning. And it melted my heart the first day I met him, because he just showed me that it's not in vain. Like, what we do, the things that we teach, it's not in vain. So that just melted my heart.
I love it. I'm like smiling even just listening you recount the example. Now, how can someone or a company hire you if they needed, executive coaching or, not coaching, but, etiquette training to either their employees or to a school? How would they go about hiring you?
They can email me at tamlyn.franklin at the ecgi.com.
I'm going to put that information on the screen for everybody.
Yes, and they can also visit the website and complete a contact assessment form, and then we can take it from there.
Wonderful. Now, I understand that you have a boot camp coming up because you are created already. Could you tell us a bit about that boot camp?
Yes, it's a polished professional boot camp, which is currently in session. And this boot camp is for polishing your professional image. If you want to polish your image to give yourself the competitive advantage, if you know that you need to hone some skills on networking and dressing for success, and how to handle yourself in business environments where there's dining and networking, and you want to avoid mistakes that could sabotage your career, then you should join the Polished Image Bootcamp, which the current one is in session, but the next one will start on May the 23rd of 2022.
Wonderful. And can they get more information on those boot camps by going to your website?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. As I said, this show is giving you glimpses of empowered women and the tools that you need to win. And we've certainly given you several here today. Tamlyn, how can we follow you on social media?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I am I am Etiquette Lady 365. I'm on TikTok as Etiquette Lady 365. I'm on LinkedIn as my name, Tamlyn Franklin, and on Facebook. And I believe that's it. That's a lot.
That is all right. That is all right. I love it. The fact that you're on TikTok, I love you for that. I literally, my assistant can tell you, I just got on TikTok, so I'll be putting out videos on TikTok soon. But Tamlyn, seriously, it's really been a joy to have you as a guest. I was so excited. Now, for everybody who's watching, I've known Tamlyn for a number of years. We've met at, I believe it was a networking function, and we've been connected on social media for years. So, and I followed her, kind of stalking, getting etiquette tips here and there. But I'm one of those people, like many of you, I have admired her from afar and always keeping abreast of like etiquette tips and go, oh yeah, you're right. I really shouldn't do that. So I'm thankful that you exist. I'm thankful that you are taking up space as a woman of color, as an incredibly intelligent woman with your electronic, engineer background, which the geek in me just finds that like so cool. But for all those things and more, I am glad that you are doing the work, the very important work that you're doing, and making an impact not only on adults but on our young people. So I celebrate you and thank you for everything that you do. And just please, please, please keep doing that. Keep the faith and keep doing it because we need you.
It is my pleasure, and thank you again for this opportunity and this platform. You're awesome, and it is Women's National. It's Women's History
History
Month,
Month. It
and
is.
you are a woman making history. So thank you, Elsa.
You're so welcome. And Tamlyn, I'll talk to you shortly. Everyone, Tamlyn Franklin. Tamlyn, I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Okay, see ya.
Take care. And let me go here. Oops. Everyone, wasn't she an amazing guest? That was Tamlyn Franklin. She's creating her legacy in more ways than one. She's an author, and she is the president of a consulting group that goes, that has an impact on people across the country, around the world, teaching etiquette. And we also talked about why etiquette matters, why good manners matter. And that's part of her legacy. As an estate planner, we help people create their legacies every day. And as if you're in the state of Maryland or in the District of Columbia and need help with your estate planning and creating your legacy, I invite you to give us a call at 410-995-7719. You see the information at the bottom of the screen. I want to thank you all again for joining us on this episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. Stay tuned. We'll be back again next week with very special guests. So I look forward to connecting with you then. This is Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney and the host of Women Winning Wednesdays. Be well, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. I'll talk soon.